Hello, everybody. Oliver G here from the Earful Tower podcast. This episode is brought to you by Cooking with Class. There's a link in the show notes below. Let me recommend some of their tours, the French Market Tour and Cooking Class. Imagine this, you meet them just over the hill in Montmartre. You go to the market, you pick out all the best ingredients, then you take them back to their class and you make a delicious 4-course meal under the supervisory eyes and hands and nose of their chefs. I've done one of their classes. I plan to do more. I'm actually thinking to do one of their special classes to mark a special occasion. But they're the sponsors of this episode of the Earful Tower. So check them out. Drop my name when you're booking and have a really lovely time. It's a perfect activity to do in Paris to actually get something out of it. You'll be able to go home, use what you've learned, impress your friends and your family with your French cooking skills. I recommend it highly. Now, on with the episode. Hello, everybody. My name is Oliver G. This is the Earful Tower podcast, a show where I interview people who make the city of light shine. And an example of such a person is Amanda Rollins, who runs the wildly popular social media accounts American Fille. That's American F-I-L-L-E. Check her out. Enjoy this conversation where we talk about everything from safety in Paris, the catacombs, her popular videos, how she made a living as a TikToker in Paris, all sorts of things. Enjoy the episode. I'll be back at the end with more, and a huge shout out, by the way, to everyone who's left reviews on this podcast, because we got over 1,000 now, and that's what I was aiming for. Now I'll never mention it again. Let's get into the episode. Here we go, Amanda Rollins. Amanda, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm really well. It's nice to have you in the studio, sitting, talking about Paris. Let's start with the basics. How long have you been in the city?
6.5 years.
Okay. Is it starting to feel like you're forever home?
Oh yeah,
really?
It's been feeling that way, and it doesn't get old. People always ask, "Does it get old?" No. I still get excited when I see the Eiffel Tower. I still walk through the streets, look up, and I'm like, "Wow, I'm here." So
I feel like that doesn't fade.
I don't think. How could it?
You see, I certainly noticed lots of like elderly couples walking around who, like Parisians, seeming happy.
Yeah.
Often my first thought is, don't you want to go and live out in the countryside or something? And I feel like, no, maybe this.
But I feel like the countryside people would have left already.
Yeah.
But like if you're into cities and you want a beautiful city, you're not going to find anything better than Paris.
Where are you from again?
I'm from Boston.
Okay, but I've never been, but it's a pretty city, isn't it?
It's pretty. It's cute. It's quite small. And the thing is, because so in Massachusetts, where I'm from, like the big city is Boston. It's either Boston or New York. Everyone that I know, the cool thing to do is to move to Boston after you graduate. And for me, it's just like I did it, like I outgrew it. And it's not Europe, like I just really wanted to be in Europe. And like Boston, I mean, you can't walk without bumping into someone like every human I know is there. And like Boston's really small. Like you can walk from one end to the other in 2 hours. Like it's quite small. Bars close at 1 a.m. I mean, I think I've heard it's changed. I haven't been back in a while, but like, it's small. But if I was moving to Boston for the first time from another place, it'd probably be like a dream. But like, I literally grew up there. So it's,
It doesn't feel to me that you have the accent that I've seen in all those Boston movies.
So I did when I was a kid. There's like videos of me when I was a little kid that I did.
Can you do it? Can you put it on for me?
Oh God. No, not really.
Isn't it like
I can't. Yeah, like no, I can't. I literally can't do it. That was horrible. I can't do it.
So then you came to Paris 6.5 years ago. You found your home. You've made a name for yourself on social media.
Yeah,
American Fille, F-I-L-L-E. Now I gotta say, I admire what you're doing because I don't know how you have the energy to put out so much stuff. When people say, do you call yourself a content creator? Influencer?
I say influencer, content creator. I only say content creator because influencer has a stigma.
Yeah.
And then once people get to know me, then I am an influencer, but content creator, it's the same thing, really.
Yeah. But I mean, so for people who haven't done it yet, go on your social media, TikTok, Instagram, whatever, check while we're talking American Fille Amanda Rollins. Rollins. What I'm impressed by is how many different, a lot of people online, they just do the same thing.
Yeah.
The exact same thing. Like I was scrolling through your page before we talk. doing a deep dive, and you got like 15 different topips that you sort of hone in on.
That is who I am.
So where does the energy come from?
Dude, I was born with it. I love talking. I'm very extroverted, especially in respect to the way I view the world, the way I interact with the world. So I have constantly new ideas coming in. And for me, those ideas I have to express them extrovertedly. Like, to me, an idea is not real until it's been discussed.
Yep.
I'm really into MBTI. It's one of my topics.
Hang on, say that again.
I'm really into MBTI.
What is that?
Myers-Briggs type indicator. I'm like obsessed. It's one of my special topics. And so I'm an ENFP. And the most important thing is I'm extroverted intuition, which means I'm always viewing the world as like what could be, or I have new ideas. Like you could give me one problem and I could come up with like 18 different ways to solve it.
You found the right job.
You know, it's funny because I remember being back in Boston knowing I wanted to move to France, but also like when it comes to my career, I was in sales and I was like, I'm not happy in a corporate world. I don't like having a corporate job. I don't like being in this position. And I was trying to like brainstorm what I could do. And I turned to my friend who I worked with and I said, here's what I've got. I have a lot of knowledge about a lot of weird topics, but I've got the stuff. And I want to be like almost like a curator who can give people the hot info, but I don't have a niche. And I was like, I don't have a niche. I don't know how to do this. And it's so funny to me now because I was describing this. I was describing, I found that. Like I almost like manifested
So
or like.
your niche is Paris.
It's one of my niches.
Yeah, okay.
My niche is like just given the info when I have it, I guess. I don't know.
Got it.
But Paris is certainly my main niche, I guess.
Well, I mean, hats off to you. It's really, and I want to talk a bit more about TikTok and stuff, especially because I think a lot of listeners maybe wouldn't understand how that works. It's still fairly new as a, I was thinking about a lot of the people I've interviewed on this show are sort of more traditional authors and stuff. And I think people would listen to those episodes and go, I get it.
Yeah.
That person's written a book. They sell the book. There's the
like
living.
I've read books. I get it.
Yeah. Whereas TikTok, there are some people who've never opened the app. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I want to get into that. But let's rewind first about where we met because it was quite a special, it's a special place in Paris that not many people have been to. The American ambassador's residence.
Yeah.
At one of their galas or whatever.
That was my first government invite.
Yeah.
And like I had heard that like there's people who are invited to these events and I was like, how do I get in?
How did you get in?
Chrissy emailed me.
Shout out to Chris. She might be listening.
I love Chrissy. Yeah. She is incredible. Like not even just as someone who works at the embassy, but like as a friend, as like a big sister. I adore her. Yeah. And she reached out and she's like, we'd love to invite you to this event. It's at the ambassador's residence. And I was like, yes, 100% yes.
I'm on my way. I'm on my way. I've got the address. Yep, let's go.
Yes.
I can't even remember what event it was, but it was, one of several. I've bumped into you a couple times now. So shout out to the American Embassy. But that ambassadorial residence, as I said, a lot of people wouldn't have been. It's kind of like a Versailles feel in there.
Oh, it's so, when I'm walking down these streets of Paris, I'm telling you right now, for those who are listening, there are secret mansions and secret castles in Paris. You have no idea. Yeah. Like when I'm passing through the streets and I see very high gates or very high, like not fences, but like brick ledges, Now that I've been through some of those gates, I'm like, oh, there's something really cool back there. There's Rothschild mansions in Paris because I attended an event once. But like on the street, you would never know. You're standing right outside the ambassador's residence. That's obviously intentional. But there are some really cool historical, like museum-esque buildings right in the center of Paris that we walk by every day. We don't even know.
If you go on Google Maps and look at those ambassadorial residences, they're blurred out. Did you know that?
No, but that makes a lot of sense.
Right? And doesn't it make it more exciting? It makes me want to go through all the streets of Paris to find those blurries.
Yeah.
Get in the blurries.
Well, so a friend of mine, like years ago, he had attended the highly coveted 4th of July party at that residence.
Oh, yeah.
And
everyone was talking about that there, yeah.
I saw photos of it, like this, like, the lush, like the garden and the it's Versailles in Paris. Yeah. And I was like, how do I get invited to this? And then I guess I manifested my way into it because I've been there now.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Chrissy. Thanks for my invite too. The trick is, I thought about doing it once, is to try and get into all the embassies because some of them, or the cultural centers around the city, some of them, you talk about the mansions, some of the places that aren't even homes, but maybe once were, like the Swedish Cultural Institution is amazing. There's a Romanian one in the 7th arrondissement that has pictures of the inside out the front. Oh. And I used to live nearby. And every now and again, I just call the number and be like, hey, I'm a journalist. I just want to come and have a look. And they're like, forget it. And I was like,
oh my God, that's so funny.
Yeah. So imagine the...
I know.
Even on that street next to the American Embassy residence is the British one.
That's the whole street. Yeah. That's the street.
Anyway, so that was a cool place to meet and talk. And then since then, we met a bunch of times. And that brings us to online. What you do, TikTok. let's imagine there's someone listening who's never even heard of TikTok. What are we talking here?
So the way I like to describe TikTok, it's almost like baby YouTube. Because it's really like when people think TikTok, they think, oh, those dancing videos. And I'm like, babe, no, that's so in the past. That's not cool anymore. That's how it started.
Yeah.
And then during confinement, everyone was on there. And the reason everyone was on there is because you can't get off. The app is so intuitive, and you might hear that and be like, that sounds dangerous. Yeah. No, because the algorithm it's beautiful. It will only show you what you are interested in. So you just spend maybe 30 minutes on there, just kind of, hearting things you like, swiping things you don't like, and it will pick up. It's reactive. So then you're going to find yourself being shown videos that are so relevant to you, topics that you're already interested in, deep dives, discussions that you maybe have thought about, but you never had the chance to actually voice because they're so niche or they're so random. And it's so interesting. And because of the way TikTok is designed, there's ads sometimes, but you can swipe past the ads. Whereas I found that YouTube, unless you really know what you're looking for, it's kind of like, I know people can spend hours on YouTube, but if you don't know where to start, you might find it hard to look for things that are relevant to you. And then you got to click play, and it might take 10 minutes into the video to find out if you're into it or not. Then there's 100 ads, whatever. This is really, really fast. And the interface takes up the whole screen, so you're really just being shown stuff that you're interested in, and you're driving, you're in the driver's seat.
It sounds like it's a good match for your personality, as you described it before.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Yeah, so videos, we're talking vertical videos, short form mostly, and
up to 10 minutes.
And the idea being that the ones you make, you want people to watch the whole thing. Is that the idea?
I mean, I want everyone to watch the whole thing, but not everyone does. Maybe they get what they need.
Sure.
But the way that I create content, and I should probably work on this. I need to hire a person to evaluate me. I don't make content thinking and the user's going to get to this point and blah, blah, blah. I don't leave cliffhangers, stay until the end. I just kind of talk. And it's a shame because sometimes I do have some hot points at the end.
That's what those pro YouTubers, I mean, the YouTubers who are the richest men in the world, richest women in the world.
Yeah.
These guys have got that stuff down too. I've got a question for you about I'm a podcaster, which in terms of all the different social media content creation, it feels like I'm the old grandfather doing the slow, which is unfair because I'm young. Wow, geez, not anymore. But
you're still young.
Yeah, it's not. It's a very different form to TikTok, YouTube. Do you feel like there's in the Paris community, do you hang out with the YouTubers, or is it you TikTokers stick together, or is it she's an Instagram?
So I've got some YouTube friends. I do. Damon Dominique is a friend of mine, and he's a huge YouTuber. But I met him on TikTok, and when I met up with him, I knew he was famous because people kept talking about him, and people kept saying, "Amanda, you got to meet this guy." And I was like, "All right, he's another TikToker," and he didn't even have that many followers on TikTok. So I was like, "Oh, he's like me." And when we met up, he explained to me that he's a very famous YouTuber, and I was like, "I thought you were a TikToker." He's like, "No, TikTok is fun. No, I'm a YouTuber." And what I find is YouTubers and TikTokers, we live on the same street, but we're not in the same house. Do you know what I mean? We're not the same. YouTube is very intentional. YouTube is, you have a concept, you spend time filming. You might put out one video a week is a bit aggressive. You might put out one video a month. You're editing, you're thinking about all of those things, the hot hooks and the flashy things and the keeping people viewing and whatever, because YouTube is just, the product that you create is going to be more long lasting. Videos on YouTube last forever. Whereas I find on TikTok, a video might have its run, but it can circulate, but it doesn't, it's constant. It's more content all the time. Most of my format of doing content, I'm not putting a lot of thought into it. I pick up my phone and I start chatting, or maybe I write 5 points and I'm I'll talk about these. YouTube is so much different. So I understand those guys, but YouTubers, their main thing is YouTube. And if they're on TikTok, it's for fun or sharing clips of their YouTube.
That's a
and
bit
vice
like
versa.
Me. Yeah, I get that. And then the thing that I think brings everyone to this podcast is Paris.
Yeah.
So now we've given a good insight into social media and stuff. How does Paris work as a hook for what you do? You don't it feels like you're not going around going, here are the best ways to see the Eiffel Tower kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm not interested in that content. First of all, because I don't even think I know a lot about Paris, but I kind of have my routines. I'm not one of those persons who's there's a hot new restaurant, we got to go. I'm not one of those people. And for me, those people exist. If you're looking for a cool place to go in Paris, there's 10,000 people. Why would you don't need? I would rather let the experts do it. There's people who are really into food or really into the best museum tours, whatever. That's not really my thing. I'm more interested in French culture. what it's like to live here. And I'm more into like, I guess in like, from my own perspective, someone who always wanted to move here, always wanted to visit here, finally did. What was that like? What mistakes did I make that I wish I didn't make, or that I wish I could help somebody else avoid? Like, it's very much like, that's why I call myself the Paris Big Sister, because I'm trying to talk to, when I make videos, I'm hoping that there's many younger me's in the audience. Do you get what I mean? And I have a love for Paris that's it's very symbolic for me, like what it meant to live here, and I'm so happy in my life here that like it's really my life in Paris. I'm not going to museums most of the time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a real, it's about the real life, and a big part of that is, I'm looking at your tote bag there. Please don't pickpocket me.
If you ask nicely, it works.
Do you remember I saw you on the train that time?
Yeah, and you ran up to me and you were like, "Give me your phone."
Let's talk about. I think that's some of your most popular thing was the catacombs. I want to get into that.
Yeah.
I want to delve deep into that in a second. But first, let's talk about safety in Paris.
Yes, it's a topic very, very, very important to me.
Even outside of TikTok, outside of YouTube, podcasts, whatever, there's definitely 100% people who are going to come to Paris who are petrified of being pickpocketed.
Yeah.
And from my perspective, rightly so in some senses. I mean, I've met people who've like they're just so distraught. Like, I've met people, listeners to my show, who've come to meet me somewhere and they've been robbed on the way.
It's literally oh God, it makes me so upset. It infuriates me. I've seen tourists get pickpocketed and like I started crying because I was so affected by it, because I know what that feels like. So for those listening, I am only human. I think I'm a sharp individual, but when I first moved to Paris, I was a bit naive, because in the US, pickpocketing is not as much of a thing. In Boston, where I'm from, if you left your phone on the metro, there's a chance you would get it back. Like, the Americans have a bit of a hero complex, and this is a true thing about Americans. We want to be the ones to help, I find, which is a nice thing, actually. And so when I first moved here, I was dating a French guy, and he was like, "Amanda, you need to be careful where you put your phone." And I did not believe him. I was like, please, like, I know everything, like, no way, right? And to be fair, I had no proof otherwise. And so in my first 2 years in Paris, I had my phone pickpocketed 5 times. First time was on the metro, out of my pocket. I put it in my trench coat pocket, taken out of the pocket. Second time on the metro, I had a bag, and the bag had an outside pocket, and I just slipped it in there. And he told me, he was like, "Don't put your phone there." It was taken. Third time, I was walking into the metro, and this one's a little unfair. I had it in my hand, put it in my pocket for like a minute, was walking into the stairs at Pigalle, and by the time I got into the metro, it was gone. And it was my birthday. That was upsetting. Fourth time, I was walking on Boulevard de Rochechouart, and a group of guys were approaching me, and this is one of their tactics that I now know. 2 guys were walking towards us, and they started pretending to be drunk. It was obvious they were pretending, like being really silly, and they bumped into us and snatched it out of my hand. And the fourth time, walking on that exact same street, it was zipped in my pocket. I know it was zipped, and I got home and it was gone. So I know. And then one time I had my purse stolen. So not my phone, but my purse.
You're a victim 6 times.
6 times I've been pickpocketed.
Does that make you an expert on how not to be pickpocketed, or on how to be pickpocketed?
No, it makes me an expert on how not to, because something about me, I'm a problem solver. And when I make a promise to myself, there's no more serious thing in the world. And I said to myself, this stops now. And I completely changed my behavior on the sidewalk, on the metro, and I've not had anything stolen in 4 years.
There you go. So what's the moral? Let's say you're talking to someone who's coming over from somewhere else in the world, and they're a little bit worried about getting their phone pickpocketed. What would you tell that person?
First thing I would say is, be worried the same way you should be worried about anything, but don't be paranoid. It can happen in any city, right? The thing about Paris, it's the most visited city in the world, which means it brings in the most tourists. People, whether they're right or wrong, they assume that tourists have money, at least enough money to get around the city. Tourists tend to carry cash, right? And so the bad people who want to take advantage, if you're thinking about fishing, this is a great place to fish. There's a lot of tourists, unfortunately. Most people will not have a problem, and that is a fact. Most people are like, well, who cares? It's not going to be a problem. But the mistake that you make is when you assume that you're totally safe. When you come to a big city, you're already not in your home turf. You're bedazzled by the beauty of Paris. You're walking a bit slower. You're looking up at the buildings. You're a bit distracted.
You're standing out as a tourist.
And you probably don't speak French. You're probably standing out as a tourist. You're probably going to the Eiffel Tower, as you should. And unfortunately, those guys, if we're talking about fishing, they know where to go to find you. So what I would say is, when it comes to your phone or your wallet, just keep it in a zipped bag or a tote bag. I like totes because the opening goes under your armpit.
Yeah.
No one's going to get into a tote bag.
Yep.
Backpacks, I'm not a big fan of backpacks because the zippers are facing behind you. And the thing is, the people who want to pickpocket, they're really good at it. They're professionals. When you go to work Monday, they're going to work on the metro to pickpocket.
Sure.
So it's a sleight of hand, and I've literally watched them do it. You can be standing next to someone and you don't realize their hands are in your pockets because the way they take advantage of the metro and there's a lot of bodies and etc. So I would say phones and wallets, keep them in a zipped bag or in a tote bag, just somewhere that's like you would feel if someone, or like you'll see at least if someone's trying to get their hands on it. And the other thing is just be very weary of people approaching you on the street. The one thing that is true is a Parisian is not going to approach you. Parisians don't need directions. Parisians don't need anything from a tourist. If anything, you would approach them. So anyone coming up to you, oh my God, you dropped this? No, you didn't.
I can add to that. There's it reminds me of the game, what do they call it? The 3-cup. I think it's called
three cup Monty or something. Yeah, that's oh God.
I don't know if I've said this on the show before. What you said about when you see people get robbed and you feel sad for them. I get really emotional when I see that happening and people losing their money, because let me say this as my official announcement. No one on the street is ever gonna give you 50 euros for getting something correct. Like that's just never gonna happen.
I agree.
So like when you think, oh, I'm playing the game, oh, I've got it right, oh, someone's just won 50. Yeah. No one's ever gonna give you 50.
You're not at a casino, babe. This is a guy on a cardboard box. What does he have to gain here?
Exactly. So if you see this exchange, I really want, because this is the one that
I have comments on this as well.
So when what we're talking about, they got this is probably goes back 2,000 years. This game, they got 3 cups with something underneath. They say guess. There's 10 people standing around. 9 of them work in the same thing. They got people on every street corner. I watch it, fascinated.
Yep.
And then they say, which one's it under? Someone gets it correct. They give 50, 100 euros. That guy's in on it. And then they see you watching. They go, come over. Come and have a go. And you go, oh, it's obviously there. You lose your money. So my one thing, more important than anything I ever say on the show, if you see that, walk away or watch for a bit.
Please.
It's entertaining, but it's heartbreaking as
So
well.
I used to live in Pigalle, and I had 2 entrances to my apartment, and one went directly on the Boulevard de Rochechouart. Every morning, my boyfriend and I would pass. We would see them having their morning meeting because they meet, and it would be the same woman, the same 2 men, and they would be passing cash back and forth. Then they would go set up, and there's the guy doing the game. There's 2 people in the audience who are fake playing, fake winning. But then there's also people in the audience hoping to pickpocket you while you're distracted.
Exactly. Yeah, it goes on.
And they make it look so easy that you're like, because most people are like, well, this is kind of dumb. And then you're like, wait, this is the easiest thing in the world. I might as well try. And what I've seen and been told, sometimes they let you win. So even as a tourist, they'll let you win once or twice because they'll be like, this guy seems like if they can spot a gambler, they'll let him win once or twice. And the way it works is double your money. So at that point, you've got like 200 in and you think you're about to win 400. Yeah. The thing is, he all of a sudden is Speedy Gonzalez, or he's cheating regardless.
Yeah. And there's no rules, so even if you did win,
like who are you going to call?
But even if you did win, they could grab it out of your hand and run. Like, what are you going to say? Like, let's take it to the manager.
You're not in a casino. There's no. Yeah, it's just so
also,
that.
And they've got guys on corners watching for the police. That's how. Like it's so. Anyway.
I've when I pass by, I am in a battle with all the scammers and pickpockets of Paris, and they're starting to recognize me, and I don't care. When I pass by those guys, I turn to them and I say, to the people standing, I'm like, don't do it. It's a scam. Don't do it. Yeah. And one time I was at the Eiffel Tower and I saw them and I started trying to discreetly film, and I assumed that only the people with them were the people like right there. Mm-hmm. There was a guy who was so far from them that I thought he was just a guy, and he saw me filming and he comes up to me and he goes, stop filming. And I looked at him and I was like, who are you? And he's like, don't film the game. And I was like, I'll film whatever I want, first of all. But I was like, oh, the team goes further than just right there. It extends.
Frightening. But exactly as Amanda said, if people coming up to you with something to sign, if people are coming up asking you to play, just don't do it. The other thing I want to add, the best reaction I've ever seen, I've met some people who've been pickpocketed, and I think even if it's counterintuitive, I've seen some people who go, they got me this time, but I'm in Paris, and I'm happy to be here. And I thought that was the best. Don't let it ruin your holiday. You know?
Oh, you mean like if you get pickpocketed?
Yeah, I saw this guy. He just had his phone, or he just had his wallet gone, and he wouldn't let it get him down because he's like, I'm in the.
No, I love that. Yeah. I love that. But the thing is, that's easier said than done.
I know.
If you save up for it and it gets you, like.
Of course.
And just a quick, if for some reason that does happen to you, I know you don't want to do this on vacation, and I don't blame you, but if you go to the police station, I've heard stories of people actually getting their stuff back. And if you can catch the person that did it, this is such a real thing, they give it back. I know I could tell you at least 10 different people who the person took their phone, took their wallet, and either they caught them before they ran away, or they just got up to them and they were like, give me my phone back. They don't want a problem.
Of course, they don't want trouble.
So they'll just give it back. So honestly, if you catch them, you can get your stuff back.
There you go. But most of all, don't worry, guys. Paris can be safe. Just be sensible.
Just be sensible. Just be a little bit more on alert than you typically would.
Let's talk about something that's very unsensible. Going into the catacombs. Now, I think this is a point that you and I maybe disagree on a little bit.
We haven't talked about it. I don't know. I don't think we do.
I've seen your content on it. I'm not sure that you've seen my content on it because it was quite a few years ago.
I haven't, but I have some thoughts.
So you did it seems to me it's the most viral thing that you've done, which is like, don't go into catacombs, it's dangerous.
And who am I speaking to, though? Tourists.
You are speaking to tourists. Yes, tourists.
That's a dumb thing to do as tourists.
It's true. Yeah. And then that went berserk.
55 million views. I hadn't even brushed my teeth. I was in my pajamas.
Yeah. Lucky you didn't have some big bit of spinach.
I know. I really wasn't prepared for that to go viral, but that's how TikTok works. You never know what's going to pop off.
I like that about, I do like that about
me too.
TikTok.
Because YouTube, you're like, this is going to be a surefire hit. TikTok doesn't, you can be in your pajamas and it still works.
Also, as a brief aside, we talked about this before. So I have a TikTok and I did videos about the antique canes that went crazy, just crazy viral for me. Millions of hits, maybe 10 million over 2 or 3 videos. And I put the same exact videos elsewhere, and people are like, I don't care about canes.
So. Oh yeah, it's always, sometimes Instagram works, TikTok doesn't. It's so, you never know.
But anyway, to the catacombs. So you said tourists don't go down there. The video went, it probably brought in a lot of people, but it also brought in some journalists who were out to get you.
Yeah.
Also, I like that about you, that you're putting stuff out there, and that it seems like you got a tough skin.
Yeah, things don't bother me.
Yeah, good for you. That's really great, and that's a good way to make a name for yourself and stuff. But you mentioned that there are people down there, or that people died, or something like that.
No, not people died, but there's people down there who don't want tourists coming in, and that is a fact. They've been known to throw flares, like if your car breaks down, like a flare. They have those things that like create like a lot of light or smoke or whatever. And there's been stories of people like snatching your map from your hands, because basically there's people called cataphiles who, it's like their thing. That's like what they do. They go in there and they don't want specifically tourists going in, because tourists, first of all, it's illegal what they're doing. They know it's illegal. Everyone knows it's legal. But they have like a nice thing going on. And if it's meant for, other people who respect the catacombs, I think that's the biggest thing. There's a respect about going in there. It's dangerous. Yeah. People could doesn't happen often, but people could get hurt. It is against the law. So if you come in, you got to be cool. It's like when you go into a club and they put a sticker on your phone because we're not filming it. You got to be cool. You got to be cool about it. Sure. And so by definition, tourists who don't speak French, who barely even could tell you how to get to directions, them going in there, it's for gawking. They don't know the rules. They don't speak French.
It seems like we disagree less on this than I thought.
That's why I said it's a bit of a liability. Yeah. And then imagine being a cataphile and some, no offense, idiot tourist wanders in, gets lost.
What's funny,
it's all over the news. They're like, oh my God, not like, why?
So what's cool about so I've been down there with 2 very serious cataphiles. Yeah. And they took it extraordinarily
it's serious.
I mean, I did an episode about it and I filmed some down there, but it was like, I remember the guy will be listening, the Comte, he's an eternal count, the Comte de Saint-Germain, that's his name. And he sent me an email that was literally like a meter long with all the rules, the respect.
You see what I mean? And this is why they don't want tourists wandering. It's not a game to go in there. Yeah. And the people who do go in take it very seriously. So my advice was, because I can imagine these Americans come into Paris, woo, and they're like, oh my God, I heard you can like go underground.
I don't think you can get down there. I don't know how you'd find the entrance. I mean, I was sworn to secrecy.
I know where 2 entrances are. I know where 3 entrances are. Yeah. Have
you been down there?
I have not yet been down there. I would go down there, but you want to know what? I don't want to get dirty. I really don't want to.
You get dirty pretty quick.
That's my biggest hesitation. Yeah. But like I go to raves in the Bois de Vincennes. I'm law adjacent.
Law adjacent. There you go. If you do get caught down there, I think it's like a 20 euro slap on the wrist.
Because like I said, they know it's a very delicate situation. They know people go down there. But this is my point. If an American tourist goes in there, then this whole relationship between the police and the cataphiles If there's an article, a girl from Chicago is lost in the catacombs, there goes this whole relationship. I get it.
You know, when people message me, like listeners or followers who message me and say, I want to go down there, and they ask to be put in touch with the people who took me down. And at first I did. Some people are like, we'll pay good money to go down there. And at first I sent it to the guys, and eventually they said,
Stop.
Don't even send it to
Exactly.
us. So we agree. Although I think one of the things that the newspapers picked up on was that there was like a fact wrong about people dying down there or something.
I said someone has died down there, or
Right.
no, not. I don't even know if someone did die, but I
someone
mentioned
died like 300 years
it was
ago or something.
in the 70s or something. But there was a notorious case sooner, like more recent than the 70s, of a guy who was lost down there for several days, like that.
Right.
I said you can get lost down there, and that's a fact. I mean,
You know how easy you could get lost down there without a map?
So-
we got lost with a map.
so
With a guy who'd been down there 50 times.
exactly. I have two friends. One of my friends, one of her friends went in with a guide. They got lost down there, and the guy that went down, her friend is like 6'4", and they started having to get like in the crawling bits,
Yeah.
and then water was rising, and like they were literally lost for like 3 hours with a guide.
Yeah.
My other friend, she's been in there like 7 times. Like I was like, tell me everything. She, they go in all the time. They know where they're going. When they went to go out their normal exit, the manhole was covered.
Yeah.
So they had to go like a weird back way. And she said, same thing, water was rising up to their waist, like bad times. And she's like, we're so lucky we made it out. And so like, it's not a walk in the park. You're stepping into something quite risky.
I agree with you. Essentially don't go down there. Go
That's
down the touristy
tourists,
bit.
don't do it.
Although I don't
The
even
museum-
really like the touristy bit, to be honest.
I'm glad I did it. But for me, I found it a bit repetitive. Once you get down, you're like, ooh, we're going in. Ooh, skulls. And then it's just skulls the rest of the time.
that's
And then you're a bit like, is there more stops on this tour?
Yeah,
Nope, that's it.
yeah. There are better things to do in Paris. But there's a lot to Paris. And I think if you want to get your head around the society, some of the things to look out for, some of the things to do, some of the merch to buy, check out American Fille, F-I-L-L-E, Fille, you'd say if you don't speak French,
Yeah.
American Fille. The tote bag, what does it say on it?
It says, please don't pickpocket me, and a
Okay.
Paris street sign.
So where can people get your stuff?
So I have a merch store. It's linked in my social media, so on my TikTok, on my Instagram. And I felt it was very on brand for me because there was, especially when I began talking about my pickpocketing stories, I was kind of known as the girl who's had, 5 phones pickpocketed. And, so I made this one. But then I also have another tote bag that says, let's grev about it. That's my favorite. I do a lot of franglais.
Yeah.
And I was like, because grev is like protest and, the French, and or strike rather. So I love saying, let's grev. I'm going to grev.
Well, let's grev about it. There you go. Follow Amanda on social media. I'll link to everything below. Also, congratulations on 1 million TikTok followers.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
Oh my God.
It's really incredible. Well done with everything that you're doing.
It's the biggest accomplishment of my life,
Well,
really.
keep going. 2 million on the horizon. I think.
I hope.
I see it. But thanks for being on the show, and we'll have you back again sometime.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
There you go. American Fille, F-I-L-L-E. Lovely to chat to Amanda. Make sure that you follow her. Say hello. Maybe you'll bump into her somewhere in Paris one day. She stayed afterwards and we recorded a bunch of stuff for extra podcasts in the future. Keep an ear out for those. As for me, a huge thank you to the Patreon supporters who make this show possible. Also, a huge thanks to everyone who left a review for this show. Over 1,000 now, which was my goal. Really happy about that. I've got a plan of how to celebrate that in a fun way coming soon. Thanks to the sponsor, Cookin' with Class. You can book with them through the link on the show notes below. Otherwise, have a lovely week wherever you are, whatever you're doing. I'll talk to you again soon with another new episode. Merci beaucoup and au revoir.